All right. Well, welcome everybody to this On the Table info session. Thank you all for being here on this rainy Thursday evening. And thank you for joining what I'm sure for most of you is the 1000th Zoom meeting that you have been on in the past couple years. I know they're not the best, but we figured this was the most accessible way to get this information out there. So we are here tonight to talk about On the Table, hosted by CivicLex, the organization I work for. As I said, my name is Kit Anderson. I've been working for CivicLex for about 2 years now, and my job title is actually Evaluation Manager, but I am also coordinating our On the Table program along with Richard Young, Megan Gola, Adrian Paul Bryant, and all of our other staff. So what is on the table? Let's start there. If anybody has any questions, please drop them in the chat or the Q&A, and I will make sure to get to those either during or at the end of this presentation. So what is on the table? On the table is a day, or in our case, a week of community conversations or tables, which are centered around a common theme. So common themes in the past have been neighborhoods, belonging, civic engagement, nonprofits. Every year, there's kind of a new theme with a similar format. These tables can be at parks, restaurants, libraries, homes, businesses. They can also be virtual or in person. They can be public or private. They can happen really anywhere people gather. The ideal table is about 4 to 10 people, or we even say 5 to 8, and lasts about an hour from start to finish. And this year, in addition to the table conversation, there's also going to be a paper survey, and I'll get to why we're doing that here in a second. So that is on the table in general. Excuse me. So now let's hit what is on the table this year going to be like, on the table 2022. So the first thing that you're probably going to want to know, the date. It is April 10th through the 16th this year. So that whole week, at any time during the week, at noon or 2 in the morning or whenever, you can join a table and have a conversation and fill out our survey. And the theme this year is the future of Lexington, or how Lexington is growing and changing. And there's a very specific reason why that's the theme of this year, and that is because these table conversations, and specifically the surveys that go along with them, are going to be the public input for Lexington's next comprehensive plan. And I will get to what that is here in just a second, but it is basically a document that our local government and our planning department releases that it outlines how the city is supposed to grow and change over the next 20 years in terms of like land use and building and development and all those sorts of things. But the comp plan really touches almost every aspect of our lives. It touches the environment, it touches jobs, housing, neighborhoods, health. Really, any part of life here in Lexington, Fayette County is probably impacted in some way by the comp plan. So as I said, when I was listing out some of those topics, the core themes of the comp plan are listed here on the screen: neighborhoods, environment, jobs, transportation, urban and rural balance. And so those 5 core themes will be the 5 core questions of our survey and the 5 core prompts for the conversation. So the way a table will go is you'll get there, the host will welcome everybody, do a quick intro, and then right away people will take the survey. That's going to take about 8 minutes. It can be paper or digital. We'll have both options. We prefer people do digital simply because it's easier to get the data incorporated, but paper is also an option. After the survey is finished, the conversation will happen based on people's answers to the survey questions. And then that conversation will go for about 45 minutes, depending on, how much people get into it. And the host will lead that conversation with the help of our host guide, which has kind of facilitation tips and tricks. And also, if the host would like to use it, a full script to take you through every step of the conversation, although that's not a requirement. And then after the conversation is done and neighbors meet each other and learn new things and maybe change their mind about something and, are part of this kind of democratic discourse and community engagement opportunity, there's one more question at the end on the paper survey. It's just at the bottom. For digital, it's a separate link. And that asks, is there anything else you would like to say? Did you learn something new? Did you change your mind? Tell us whatever else you want to tell us. And we did that to make sure that people know that we care about kind of their responses both before and after the conversation. So that's on the table this year. And yeah, as I kind of referenced, if you don't know what a comprehensive plan is, that's totally fine. Most people don't. I certainly didn't before I started working for Civic Lex. But yeah, as I said, it's this kind of long-term planning document. In Lexington, it is also known as Imagine Lexington. Imagine Lexington is the comp plan, or comprehensive plan is Imagine Lexington. So, and that name started in 2018, which is when our last comp plan was released. And it was kind of like a big deal. It was like a new kind of direction for planning in Lexington. It had a lot of new tools, new public engagement, new goals and objectives. And so this year's update, well, actually, it'll be 2023. So next year's update is kind of building on that fresh take on things. And yeah, as I said, the comp plan is published every 5 years, but it's intended to guide growth for 20 years or 2 decades. And if you have more questions about the comp plan, please feel free to drop them in the chat, reach out to us, or reach out to your friendly neighborhood planners. They love to talk about it, as I'm sure you can imagine. Okay, the next thing you might be wondering is who is actually behind all of this? So apart from Civic Lex, the organization I work for, and we are a nonprofit civic education and kind of democracy building organization focused exclusively on Lexington, Fayette County. Our office is downtown, and we've been around for about 4 years now. And we were supposed to run on the table for the first time in 2020, in March of 2020, but I'm sure most, if not all of you, can imagine why that didn't work out. So this will be our first year actually running the program, knock on wood, start to finish. But we're not doing it alone, far from it. We have a 30-person plus advisory group composed of the beautiful faces you see on the screen. They represent kind of every stakeholder in the development of both a community engagement program and of a comp plan. So we have nonprofits, we have LFUCG, UK, Transy, FCPS, we have the Herald Leader, we have Lextran, United Way, everybody, who's working on the community, it can be involved in this process. And I'll get to that in just a second. And of course, these things cost money. I had no idea how expensive printing materials was. And we are translating all of our materials into 5 languages. That costs money. Our time costs a little bit of money, not a lot, but some. So we are sponsored by the images you see on the screen, Imagine Lexington, Fayette Alliance, the city, Bluegrass Community Foundation, the Knight Foundation, UK, and PNC Bank. So thank you to our sponsors. They are helping pay my salary, which I, of course, appreciate. Okay, so now this is the good part. This is how can you get involved? There are a number of ways for that to happen. The most obvious one is to join a table. You can sign up right now, ottlex.org. There's a red button right on the home screen to register. And that's where you register to join a table, to host a table, to volunteer, to get the word out. Anything you might want to do is that same link. And it's a pretty streamlined registration. It only takes a couple minutes. So if you just think you're interested in learning more about this, I would encourage you to go ahead and register now. There's an option where you can say, I'm not sure exactly what I want to do, but I want to learn more. You can sign up just to do that. If you're interested in doing a little bit more than joining a table, the next, and in my opinion, the best option is hosting a table. So this is where you can host it publicly or privately with your book club, with your workplace, with your friends and family around the dinner table. However you would like, you can sign up to host a table. And something I'm really trying to emphasize, because I think it's a little confusing, is the hosts don't have to come up with the process. We're not leaving you in the lurch. You will have the facilitation guide, the script, the questions, everything will be kind of planned out for you. We'll also have optional kind of host/facilitation trainings if you'd like a little more info, but those are not required. So the idea is, the way we're setting this up is that a host could just show up day of, no prep, and still be able to guide a conversation. And then if you want to get even more involved, we get into the realm of getting the word out. You can volunteer to help poster and flyer. That stuff takes an unbelievable amount of time, just hands and feet and hours. So there's a link to register to volunteer in the same registration. I would be very grateful for anyone who would like to help me put posters up around town. You can also just spread the word, either on your social media, to your friends and family, to your coworkers. We have printed materials available if you yourself would like a poster. Or if you have some sort of community group or organization that you would like to receive a presentation about on the table, that's an option too. You can just reach out to me, kit@civiclex.org, and I am happy to come to really just about anything. Church, neighborhood meeting, book club, council meeting, board meeting, what have you, and I can do just a quick, 3 to 5 minute presentation about how people can get involved in this, because it's a really, really wonderful opportunity. So yeah, as you can see on the screen, currently our two biggest needs are table hosts and volunteers. That holds true, but really any way that you want to get involved in this process, you can. And finally, if you really, really want to get involved, our advisory group has 4 working groups in data, access, marketing, and youth. And those are open to the public. So if you're interested in joining a working group, again, just email me, kit@civiclex.org. You can also email ott@civiclex.org, I believe it is. Just stick with kit@civiclex.org if you're interested in joining a working group. And we did that because we want our process to be open, we want it to be transparent, and we want it to be community informed. So we've had several community members join working groups. It is a bit of a time commitment, though. I will warn you about that. And finally, the timeline of where we are at. We are closing towards the end of February, which is a little terrifying, but that's okay. Early March, actually March 1st, we are going to be launching our participation phase of really trying to get people right then and there to sign up to be involved. We're doing a press conference with the mayor's office next Tuesday, actually March 1st. We're sending materials to print. We're printing probably around 2,000 paper surveys, and I'm not sure how many host guides. I think close to 1,000. So, that takes time, of course. Late March is our facilitation training, our physical marketing campaigns, TV and radio, etc. And then April is kind of the final scramble. So people can sign up to host or participate up through the last day of On the Table. So if someone hears about On the Table, if they see a table at the library on April 15th, they can join a table on April 16th. We are not closing registration until the process is over. And then in terms of follow-up after the fact, CivicLex will receive all the data, we will anonymize it, and we will publish it to the web. So anyone who is interested can dig into it. They can see, how people are feeling about Lexington and how it's growing and changing, which I think is actually like a really beautiful opportunity. But in addition to that kind of public data set, we will also be working with the planning department, UK's Martin School, and the rest of our advisory group to analyze and code the data specifically for input into the comprehensive plan and into a report that we, CivicLex, will be producing that is more generally just about how people are feeling about their communities. And we think that both the report and the data, researchers, nonprofits, policymakers, businesses, anyone who's interested in it, will be able to access these materials. So that is more or less what's going on. You can register, as I said, register now at ottlex.org. I